Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel here today. Today I have a ponytail on because we're gonna talk about something serious. Just kidding. But my voice today might be a little raspy because I went to two Taylor Swift concert, well, not the concert, the movie within the last week. So my voice has been a little raspy, has been losing it a little bit, but we're gonna push through. Today I want to talk about how I cracked the PM interview for Microsoft and Apple. Well, not really for Apple because it's for a different position, but relatively they're similar to each other. So I want to start off by introducing what is product management. So product management is basically building the right product and building it right. So a lot of the things that product management do are building the right product, which including the process, design, architecture, engineering, and technology, and also testing. And the second part of it is also building the right product. And that includes analysis, users, product owner, research, priorities, and opportunity. And when you combine them both together, then that's what a product manager do on a daily basis. And some of the responsibility of a product manager, if you're looking to break it into product manager, these are some of the responsibility that you might encounter. First is to understand user needs, doing some user research, doing some planning, doing some market research as such, and then chart out a clear product vision to ensure that you're building the right product and it covers like the user's pain point and customer struggles. And then you start doing some surveys for competitive analysis. Something like a market competitive analysis or a user survey would be good in this stage. And after that, you want to share the vision with the leaders to have them approve of your product or any other interested party. And then at the end, you want to collect research and feedbacks about the product, and then you want to continue going on and start doing it with the engineering team itself. So why is this a relatively popular career role nowadays? So it hasn't been popular like a few years back, but it has been becoming more popular as I guess the time ages. And this is because a lot of people, well, personally speaking, I like to see a product coming from ideation to becoming an actual product, and so I enjoy the process of just not exactly creating the product, but more like managing the product from design, from engineering, having engineering build it. And our specialty as a product manager is actually communication. Having clear communication with cross-functional teams are actually very important, and so that's mainly what we do. Is we talk to a lot of people and we try to figure out what's a good timeline to have it done, having it handed over to different teams to ensure clear communication and nothing get lost in translations or lost in communications. Second things, I want to talk about some key responsibility of a product manager. And I think I've quickly go over it a little bit before this, but some of the key responsibility are defining product strategy, prioritization of different tickets or different features, collaborating across different cross-functional teams, as well as just having ensure that each team are on the same page and have clear communications throughout the whole process. A lot of the times it goes from ideas, which product manager comes with the ideas, or customer struggle, which trigger an idea, and then we're going to write our design spec and then talk to our designers to have them design something. And then we want to prioritize some of the tickets, some of the features that it's more important, then we'll want to have them launch earlier than the others. And then we'll start experimenting with our actual users to see how does our user feel about the new prompt or a new feature that we created. And then at the end we have feedbacks, and then after we get our feedbacks, usually a lot of the times we take in the feedback and we try to see if we can do it better in the future or how we can change it to make it more user-friendly. So thirdly, I want to talk about resume and qualifications. So a little bit of background on skills people really like to see on your resume when you go for a product role or leadership experience, not necessarily projects. Projects are more engineering focused, but if you want to go into product manager, they want to see your leadership experience. Leadership experience, communications, you being a team member, your organizational skills, and also your time management skills are very crucial for a product manager role. If you want to go for a product manager but you have a tech background, I would suggest you cater your resume to a product role instead of putting more projects, put more leadership experience, emphasize relevant experience. If you have a software and a product role, and they're happening on the same time, you probably want to put the product role above the software role. And then number 4, understand the interview process. So for product management, the interview process are a little different than the one that you usually have for a technical interview for a software role. So the different stages of interview, I can say for my experience, my first stage are a 30-minute phone interview. That is just to make sure that you fit into the company culture and that you fit into the company well. And then second, I had a super day with Microsoft, which consists of 4 45 minutes back-to-back interviews with actual TPMs or actual PMs that's currently working in the company. Sometimes they will have case study that you have to do. I know Duolingo have 2 interviews and some of them are case study related. For Google, they also have 2, 3-ish, and those are product design questions. Some of the more common behavioral questions mainly targeted your conflict resolution skills, your time management skills, organization skills, leadership skills as such. They want to see how you can solve a problem, so problem solving, and also they want to see your adaptability into a different situation, different difficult situation, and how you're going to solve it that way. And usually I like to follow the STAR method, which is situation, task, action, and result. And in that sense, I don't ramble too much in my answers, but I also can thoroughly talk about my thoughts, my explanations, and everything that's included in the STAR method. I like to do a lot of mock interviews before I go into the actual interviews to just get me warmed up, know what exactly I'm going to say for each of my questions. I also have like a note where if I ask this question, this is what I would say, and I list some of my potential example that I'm going to use for every questions, or just anything that I would like to showcase in my interview. I'll write it down in a STAR format so that I can go back and reference to it whenever I get asked the questions, and I'm like, oh, this question, I think this is a perfect example, and then I will look back and I'll try to talk about that example. And then number 5, I want to talk about when you go into a company interview or any interview, honestly, you want to go do a little bit of company research. For me, I like to go and look for their company mission, their company values, their vision, and basically what they do, and also their product lines, because they might ask you something about their product line and you want to have something to talk about. And then you want to also discuss and tailor your response according to company values. So for example, if a company values a lot on their inclusion, diversity, then you want to cater your responses to focusing on inclusion and diversity. If you've done any DEI training or if you've done any DEI related experience, those are really good to talk about. And then last but not least, I want to talk about some questions that you can ask for an interviewers. At the end of every interviews, people are gonna ask if you have any questions for me. Do not want to say no. It's the last thing you should do. You should always say, yeah, I have a few questions I have in mind and I want to ask you about it. Some example of the questions are, can you describe the day-to-day responsibility for this role? How does the company foster community? And how does DEI in this place? What are the next steps and expected timeline for this position? What do you enjoy doing most in this company? And sometimes you also want to cater your questions to the role that your recruiter or whoever you're talking to are. So sometimes if someone told me they've been there for 20 years, this is my go-to questions, which is, what makes you stay for so long? Because obviously they have a lot of opportunities to just go to other companies, but they choose to stay for 20 years. So that was my go-to questions. And also ask about work-life balance, which is very common questions that they get asked. Maybe I'll put that in the later slides. I'll ask about that. But I also like to ask about how's their life transitioning from, if they're a new grad or new hire, I like to ask about their transition between college and then to full-time and how they try to adapt into the new environment, if they have to relocate or not. And then if they're doing remote, I like to ask community foster when you're doing remote and you don't have the in-person interaction from day to day. And then at the end, I want to talk about my personal experience. I think throughout the video, I've talked a little bit about my personal experience, but In this section, I want to talk about more in depth of my personal experience. I actually got referrals for my position at Microsoft. So after I got the referral, had a phone interview, which is 30 minutes phone call. And the first question that they asked me are, so why are you passionate about technology? And that caught me off guard because I'm not prepared for that question at all. And so I talked about how technology brings people together, which ties into their community aspects of their mission. And I also talked about how it also expresses creativity, which I don't know if it ties into any missions of theirs at the moment, but I will look into it. And then I just kind of ramble a little bit about the answers that I gave them, but I got through. And then right after my phone interview, I actually emailed the recruiter or whoever I'm talking to a follow-up email, basically a thank you email. I'll show it on the screen right now. This is what I said. And then a week after, I got another invitation to a super day, which is 4 back-to-back 45 minutes interview with a TPM and a PM. And so I did that. So for every interview, I try to be the first one to speak up. So I'm always like, hi, how are you doing today? And just to make sure just to show them that I'm very excited for the interview and I'm very enthusiastic to talk to them. During my interview, I think a lot of the times I cater a lot of the responses to me and to showcase who I am as a person. Sometimes I crack jokes, sometimes I talk about Marvel, sometimes I talk about movies that I like. And actually there's two questions that I like the most, which is the first question. He asked me what is my favorite Microsoft product and how would I improve it. I said VS Code, and I said the only thing that I want to improve about VS Code is the plugin sections, where there is a lot of plugins out there, but we don't know which one is good or bad. And so my suggestion is to have like a ranking list or suggested list of these are the plugins that you want to use for web dev, or these are the plugins that you want to use for coding in OOP or C++, in C, etc. And then the second question he asked me is actually because on my resume I have listed I'm fluent in Mandarin, in Cantonese, and English, obviously. And so what is the difference between Cantonese and Mandarin? The way that I structure my questions, I get asked a lot on these questions actually with my friends, but it's basically Mandarin is a more easier language to learn, and also it's more commonly used. And Cantonese is more, I don't want to say a dialect per se, but it's harder to learn because there's more pronunciation to it, and then if you pronounce something wrong, then you might offend someone in a certain way. And I talk about how it's very inclusive, or it's very important to make sure that you pronounce the word right, or else you're gonna offend someone. And he really liked my answer on like just accessibility and thinking about other people, being customer focused, which is one of the Microsoft mission or values, is customer focused. Not customer focused, customer obsessed. So there's that. And then right after my super day, I also emailed the recruiter with a thank you note saying I had a lot of fun talking to the PMs and TPMs. I hope to hear back soon. And she actually responded, you'll be hearing back from our team very soon. And a week and a half later, I got another email on my offer. I didn't sign it per se at that time. I actually waited and asked for extension because I was also interviewing for Apple for a QA position. For that position, I didn't even apply to it. I had my resume on their database, and so someone from their team reached out and asked if I'm interested in interviewing for Apple. And so I went through 2 interviews and I got through it, but the day that they told me or sent me the offer, I actually have to sign my Microsoft one. And so I signed my Microsoft before I can even sign my Apple one. Is a chance for me to practice my interview skills even more and to know that I am able to get through Apple interview. That got me like a little bit of ego boost, a little bit. You know, it's for experience and it's for practices. At the end, this final section, I want to just talk about some final tips and tricks on how you can crack your own product management interview. First thing that I would say is definitely be confident, be you. They know when you lie, or they know when you are not confident in yourself. When you go into the interview, just be confident, think about that. Think that you're gonna get the position, even though you might not at the end. Just think about it, and it will make you look more confident. And secondly, I would say don't ramble on your answers, because you don't want to ramble a 3 minutes answer into a 6 minutes or into 10 minutes. You want to be concise, you want to be clear, and you want to get through to the interviewer that you have this kind of soft skills that you're talking about, and you do not want to ramble your answers. The third thing that I would say is just do a lot of mock interviews, practice. Practice makes perfect, and that's how I got my interview. Like I said, I practiced a lot before I had the actual interview, and so a lot of the questions that they ask, I already have an answer in my head, or I practiced through it. Ask different people, ask peers to do mock interviews with you, or even you can reach out to actual product managers to have them do a mock interviews for you as well. And so those are the 3 main tips that I would say, and I will share to you. But leave it in the comments if you have any other questions. I'll try my best to answer the comments or any questions that you have about cracking the PM interviews. But that's a wrap, and I know this video is a little tad long, and so I will try to make it more entertaining, more interactive. But other than that, that's a wrap, and I thank you guys for staying along with this journey. If you want to follow for more, click the subscribe button and also the bell button so you get notification whenever I post. I don't know how often I'll be posting. I have been posting weekly, but we'll see. But other than that, thank you guys, and I'll see you guys next time I post. Bye!